And speaking of a land of confusion, today we're talking about data governance and Microsoft Fabric, two topics that cause a lot of confusion around the business community. So stay tuned, and I'm going to answer all those questions and get you up to speed. Thank you so much for joining me. I am Andy with Integrity Data Insights, and this is my series, Drums and Data. If you're new here, I tackle a business data problem, and I also perform the drums. So today I took on the song Land of Confusion by the band Genesis from their 1986 album, Invisible Touch. And today we're going to talk about data governance. What is it? Start with the basics. What is it? What does Microsoft Fabric offer? And what are some other things that you may need to look into in that space? So let's dig in and get started. So to help you understand what data governance is, I want to start with this visual. Imagine that you are going to your local library and you open the door and you get there and this is what you see. Now, besides the trash and, the uncleanliness, I'm guessing you don't have a lot of confidence that you're going to be able to find much of what you need here, without sifting kind of through what is shown here. Now let's focus to what you likely see when you walk through the doors of your library. Neat, organized shelves, everything has its place, and essentially this is what data governance gives you. So let's talk about what a library can teach us about data governance. Every book is cataloged. There's details on who wrote it, what was the publisher, what genre is it? Is it mystery? Is it nonfiction? What year was it written? Also, not every book can be checked out. There's certain things that are maybe a private collection, or maybe they can't leave the library. Maybe you can look at them while you're there. There might be other items where, unless you have special permissions, you can't look at them at all. And I don't know about you, but in my time with the library, I've never stumbled upon an author's rough draft. So I never was looking and said, I really want to read The Stand by Stephen King. And then somehow I came across one of his first, drafts that was unedited or such. That's never happened to me. I'm guessing that hasn't happened to you either. And why that probably never happens is because you have a team. There's a library team that's responsible for much of what is on the screen here, for cataloging the books, for setting who can get access to them, for making them available to the public, for making sure that you have the latest version of the book and not some rough draft. So all of that is all of these benefits are parallel to what data governance can bring your organization, and I'm going to cover that in more detail right now. So to help you understand what data governance is, I've created this very simple fictional example here. And, let's say this is a record that came into your company. It has a company ID, name and address, simple contact information, and maybe it even has some sensitive information, social security number in this case. So data governance at its core is basically technology and people and processes that ensure that this company record meets your standard. And your standard is going to be different than some other company's standards. It's going to be different based on your industry, based on your unique needs. But let's walk through a couple of the examples that could be put in place. So quality, you could have a data governance rule that, you can't create a company record that doesn't have a company name, for example. or, it has to be, it can't be just one character long. Those are all examples of potential data quality rules that can be put into place to ensure that that you get as clean of data as possible. Validity is the information, you don't have an email address in the phone number field, for example, or, do you have a properly formed email that has a, domain name and such. All of those different things are examples of rules that you can put in place that help you to safeguard your data and make sure you're capturing what you need for your organization. A couple more things to point out here. Another concept of data governance is lineage and history. So you kind of know exactly where it came from, who changed it, those kind of things. We already tapped on consistency. And finally, access and security. Who can view this information? Obviously, social security numbers, things like that. You want some processes and technology in place to ensure that not just anybody can go view that sensitive information. So I've talked about this from the context of new records coming in, but these same rules and concepts apply to your reporting layer. So every company has some dirty data that they wish they didn't have, right? They have records that don't have company names or other things from some legacy system from 10 years ago that, when data governance wasn't a thing, right? But those same principles still apply to your reporting layer. So you can put rules in place that don't expose company records that don't have company names, for example. Or maybe you hide confidential information from regular users. Maybe you don't display phone numbers and emails for people that don't need that information. All of those kind of rules are things that help with your data governance and improving your reporting environment for your users. So the other side of the coin, data governance can help companies avoid several things. It can avoid users working off different versions of the same data. Users seeing data that they shouldn't, like sensitive social security numbers or things that we've talked about. Having users see unprocessed or unstandardized data. Inability to track down where data came from. And it can avoid users making changes to records that they aren't authorized to. So let's talk about a couple specific things built into Microsoft Fabric that help with data governance. So before Fabric, you had all these different tools. You had all of them storing data differently, different, users. Everything's managed separately. A nightmare for figuring out, who can access what, where the sensitive fields are, all those different things. Well, Microsoft Fabric has helped that tremendously by simply storing all the data in a unified platform. So OneLake is Microsoft's solution to that. We're not going to go into the details of what that is, but essentially, with everything being stored the same way, it makes it much more easy to traverse that data, to find out who has access to it, all those different things. Fabric also offers this concept of certified data sets. So in the past, a lot of environments today, you have different copies of reports. Maybe sales has a different version than marketing has. All these different things like that can happen, where with Fabric, they have abilities right inside here to kind of mark if a data set is certified and by who, and give different information right within the product that can help you kind of know that a data set is of a certain quality. And there are restrictions on who can do that and such, but that's a huge step towards kind of having your users know what the most accurate source of data is right within the platform. Here's a screenshot that I took from Power BI that just elaborates on that a little bit more. You can just see kind of how that looks when you're publishing your data out, and you have different options of marking it as promoted, certified, and master data. And once again, like I discussed, those options won't be available to anybody. You can set within your organization who has the power to mark that on your data sets that you publish. So in addition to some of the features built right within Microsoft Fabric, you likely are going to need to take it a step further if you really get serious about data governance. So I'm going to just hit on a few of these other things that you likely will need as you mature in that area. Enterprise Data Catalog. This is incredibly important. This is basically having an inventory on all of your data, what fields there are, what they mean, any nuances that there are, such things like that. We've all had that where we've pulled a report and you're not exactly sure what that data point means, or what the business definition of it is. All of those kind of things can be captured within your enterprise data catalog. There are a lot of options and tools that let you do more high level things, more risk assessment tools, more big picture across the organization. This picture here, which I believe is a screenshot from Microsoft Purview, that allows you to kind of do some more strategic things with the data. How much of it has an owner assigned? How much of it doesn't? How many assets do you have by certain business units? All those different things help you get the big picture of your data and kind of where you may need to focus. These tools also allow you to do a lot of central, assigned data ownership. Who owns this data point, and capturing that. So if somebody needs to ask a question, they can find out who in the organization they should go to. And finally, just a couple other points here. Having audits on your data quality, your data governance measures. Are things being implemented? Are you testing that on a regular basis? And compliance management. Maybe you're in a highly regulated industry and you can't have anybody that is seeing, different data points that they're not allowed to. Healthcare, other areas like that. Those are all things that there are tools from various vendors, Microsoft and others, that provide tools that do a lot of these different things that can help you with your data governance for your organization. So as powerful as a platform like Microsoft Fabric is, unfortunately, when it comes to data quality, data governance, all those things, it only is going to get you so far. And a big component that you also need is strong leadership. You need leaders that understand data governance, that understand why it's important, what the value that brings to an organization, and you also need them to make decisions, right? Who can make changes to the data? What does it mean for a data set to be certified? How does someone certify a data set? All those kind of things require leadership. And without that, unfortunately, a lot of the technology things that you put in place likely won't be successful. Finally, testing. Don't forget testing. That's often an overlooked thing, but it's easy with these day and age to think, hey, we have it all locked down. There's no way that anybody can see these social security numbers, whatever that may be. Test to make sure. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Drums and Data. Once again, I am Andy with Integrity Data Insights. I hope this cleared up some of your confusion around Microsoft Fabric and data governance. And if you have confusion in your business around those areas or any data-related reporting analytics topics, I'd love to talk to you. Head to my website, integritydi.com. Click on the schedule a consultation. I'd love to chat with you and see how I can help. Take care, everyone.